What's up, guys? It's me and Anna Maria again. It's been a minute.
It's been a while,
We've missed you in here.
definitely. I'm glad to be back.
Thank you. And on today's episode, I think we're going to unpack a very, 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 very important current climate that we're experiencing in South Africa. I'm going to just give a quick intro to the episode and we can start it. So, since November 2021, we've experienced 10 interest rate hikes in a row. So prime has gone from 7.25 all the way up to 11.75 in that period of time. We're going to dissect how has that affected the South African household? How much are we paying more for our bonds? How much are we paying more for our cars? And is there an actual strategy towards buying a vehicle, because we in the automotive industry, whilst maintaining a lower payment? And we're going to unpack a very, very controversial subject. Controversial basically because people don't understand what it is and how it's actually intended to be used, and they just go and listen to horror stories from people being conned into buying with residual whilst not being aware of what it actually does. But before we get there, we're going to unpack the current climate, the problems, and the possible solutions. You ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
The average South African home, medium-sized home, costs 1.255 million rand. And if you had bought a average medium-sized South African home back in November 2021 and you financed the whole bond, 1.255, your payment on 1.255 at 7.25% interest rate is 9,919 rand. So it's under 10,000 rand. Fast forward November 2023, it's 13,601 rand, which is a difference which you haven't budgeted for of 3,682 rand.
Okay, but it doesn't stop there,
Yes.
because the current market value for a vehicle is 323,000 rand.
Average.
So
That's
that
what
is
they
the
spend.
average, what they spend.
By the way, women spend less.
Yes, men do a bit more, but I think it's ego-driven.
We like to measure stuff against other men. So who's got the bigger tires? Who's got the bigger boot? And that's what happens there. But women tend to be more sensible.
But let's stick to the 323.
The average.
Now, 2 years ago, at 7.25%, you look at a payment of 5,644
At prime rate.
at prime rate. Now, 2 years. Today, in our current climate, at 11.75, you're looking at 6,311 rand. So that gives you a difference of 667 rand. Now, add that up, your household, unbudgeted for, is over 4,350 rand.
Okay. Now, can it get any worse?
Yes, it can.
So back in June 1998, that was when our interest rates were the highest. It actually peaked at 23.99. I used to sell cars back then.
Yes.
23.99% interest. What does that actually mean for a house that costs 1.255 million rand? It's 25,308 rand monthly installment. That's a difference of 15,389 rand. On a car, it goes all the way up to 8,624 rand, which is a difference of 2,980 rand.
And now suddenly you sit with a budget that you didn't budget for of 18,369 rand.
Can it
Where do
get
you
there? Can it get there?
I really hope not, but it can. It happened before.
I don't think it can in today's climate. I think the national debt, everything has grown so much that it will literally bankrupt the country
No,
in
it
1
will
month.
bankrupt.
Immediately. It will bankrupt everybody. I don't think it can get there, but that's worst case scenario.
That is worst case scenario, but we've already proved what that small percentage can make on a payment. So yes, we're on 4,000 Rand versus 18,000 Rand, but it's still a lot of money that you didn't
hell of a
budget
lot of
for.
money. So check this out. The South African Statistical Division, Stats SA, says that the average salary in South Africa across the board, so from the top right across the board, this is the gross salary, is 24,574 Rand for last year. That's the average. Considering an increase of 4,350, your salary as a South African is diminished 18%. So you haven't bought anything new or upgraded to a bigger house, a bigger car. It's diminished 18%. So bearing in mind that the average increase in salary was 5%, you're still 13% down.
It's a lot of money.
13% down on your salary. And many businesses didn't get an increase, but the average was 5 across the board. So in the automotive industry, we constantly having, I say this 100 times a day. I'm not here to sell your car. I'm here to solve your problem. Now, whether your problem is you're a young guy, you want to attract the opposite sex, and you want to be a cheese boy and you want a GTI. I need to solve the GTI problem. So you want to attract girls, GTI is the way to go. No problem. If you are a family man that needs to, fortunately or unfortunately, I hear this a lot. You know, yeah, my mother-in-law now needs to drive with us. So we need a 7-seater. So just put her in the boot. He says, I would, but the wife, you know, it's a story. So whether I'm solving I need to attract a girlfriend, or we need to solve for the mother-in-law, so we're getting I'm not selling cars. I'm solving people's problems. The problem that we currently have to solve constantly, daily, me and you more than me, because you run the finance, is not the 667 Rand increase in car payments. It's actually the 4,350 Rand increase in car payment and household or bond payment.
There's nothing you can do about your bond.
That's excluding food and everything else, fuel.
Correct.
So where do we go from here? How do we say to the customers, okay, here's an option. There is a way to bring your installment down. I think let's unpack residual for a little bit, you know, commonly known as balloon payment.
I love it. I've always loved it. There's 2 reasons where you will not ever enter into a contract like that. And the only one, or the first one, is definitely the fact that you drive more than the average mileage.
So what is the average mileage in South Africa?
25,000 kilometers.
25,000?
If you average that or less, you're fine. But then you do get the marketers where they do a 40,000. So never ever go into that. But being a marketer, you get subsidized for your vehicle.
Correct.
And obviously that will benefit you.
So the first one is the mileage, 25,000 kilometers. If you drive 25,000 kilometers annually, around 25,000 kilometers, then potentially residual value might work for you.
Definitely.
What's the second part?
You need to drive that vehicle for 36 months.
36 months.
36 months.
Why?
That is the break-even point where you can come back to the dealership and I can trade it in without loading, without nothing. You will benefit. You need to make sure that mileage is still correct, as we mentioned before, and 36 months we can put you into a new vehicle. And that will then also solve for the nice part of it and getting your installment down.
So fast forwarding 10 interest rate hikes in a row, unbudgeted, diminishment of 13% of your salary, if you are fortunate enough to have had a raise of 5%. Fast forward that, the only way that you can really maintain that lifestyle or that certain class of car that you were always interested or dreamt of buying is through a residual plan.
Definitely.
And it only applies if you drive 25,000 Ks or less and keep the vehicle for 36 months. So if you intend to keep the vehicle for 36 months or slightly longer, you're safe.
You're safe, 100%.
And if you fall out of that bracket, then potentially residual value is not for you.
Smaller residual value might work.
Smaller. So if you
The
drive...
moment you just take then the option of a bit of a smaller residual value, you're going to end up driving it maybe a bit longer, so that you can do. But a smaller residual value will take you out.
Another common problem that I have to solve for is customers coming back and saying, listen, I had a load out of a XYZ car into this car that I'm currently driving, so I'm carrying that load around. It's 30 or 40, whatever thousand Rand it is. We need to load it on the next vehicle. those customers need to remember that in 36 months, that load is still carried around with you.
You can't.
Unless you are prepared to go maybe 42, 48 months. That's when that load would have been diminished to the point where we can take you out the vehicle.
Definitely.
I think this discussion is highly overdue, number one, and hopefully very informative to the public that watches this.
Definitely. And there's one last thing I'm going to leave you with. The banks will never approve a residual value if they didn't feel it's beneficial to clients. Obviously, you need to buy vehicles. You cannot stop buying a car due to interest rate. They can even extend your term.
Yes.
And that is where we're going to solve for your problems.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the like button, and
And share our content.
thank you so much and have a power day. Bye-bye.